In my previous video, I looked at the basics of creating a modular asset set. I was working from the assumption that we could create a standard base set of building blocks and then texture in the required style of the asset pack that we want to create. However, this assumption starts to break down when we move on to texturing our assets. Let's look at an example to try and illustrate the point. We have two wall sections next to each other and the connection appears seamless even as we move around the corner to the side of the structure. However, we have an issue as something needs to go in the space as no building is built like this. We have various options. One would be to put a pillar in the corner section. A wooden pillar with bricks, however, doesn't look very plausible. If the wall was plaster, or possibly half timber, then this might be okay. If we move the wall sections, then we can see that the textured join is not very good. To try and address this problem, we can make an L-shaped corner element. This will increase the number of assets that we need to make, and what happens if we wanted one of the walls to have a door or window. This would steadily increase the number of assets, which goes against the idea of a modular asset pack where we want to minimise the number of building blocks. We could potentially make our corner piece half width, in other words 1.5 meters, in both directions. It is unlikely that a door or window would be placed in this corner section, but we could create an asset with the required gap. Another important part of the asset pack that we're creating are the roof sections. For these sections I have applied a basic reddish roof tile texture. The sections fit reasonably neatly together, and it's only if we zoom in closely we can see that there are potentially some unsatisfactory joins. We could potentially mitigate some of the problems with the joins by using double width sections or coming up with better texturing. There is also an issue with the texturing at the sides ends of the roof sections. This can be covered up if we add wooden planks at the end of any of these sections. This looks okay, we probably could find a better wood material. We need to add a lower roof section or the roof will look a bit strange. We basically just repeat the design of the main roof at about a quarter of the overall dimensions. The lower corner section is modelled to smoothly join the two sides together. The inverse of the corner section is more challenging. The overall shape appears to be fine, but getting the texturing correct is more challenging. In reality, there will probably be special tiles to lay on the diagonal section to join the two sections together. When we add two additional edge sections in, we can see that the joins are not perfect and we probably need to do a better job with the texturing. The basic door that we created last time is really primitive and we need to change this. We can make a more realistic mesh or keeping the same texture. This process will be demonstrated with a simple example where we divide the door surface into 4 quarters. We select our object, we enter edit mode, and then we create loop cuts with Ctrl R, left click and right click to fix it in place halfway along the side. We do this both for the vertical and horizontal sides of our simple door mesh. Next, we select the front faces and we press I to inset the quadrants separately. We then use extrude using E and then Y to move inwards fixed on the Y axis. We then do another inset, pressing I to create the intersection. We extrude again in the Y axis, but this time in the opposite direction. We could add bevels to the edges if we wanted to make these edges smoother. We need to add a wooden material to the window frame. The window also needs some glass, or it looks rather strange. We create a plane in the middle of the mesh with a glass material. That is all there is to it. We need to move to the viewport rendered option to be able to see the glass viewed properly. So that wraps up this video where we've looked at making some improvements on the modular assets that we started in the previous video.